Alright y'all, welcome back to another episode of Retro ReWire. My name is JJ, and in today's episode we're going to continue the In the Hunt series, and this will be part 2 to the Hard Off in Gyoda. Now in part 1 we took a look at the junk section, the consoles, and the display case. So if you haven't checked out that episode, please do so, because today is all about video games and that's what I'm going to show all of you. So without further ado, I'm going to cut to the footage, so sit back, relax, and let's enjoy part 2 of the Hard Off in Gyoda Saitama. So here we are outside of the Hard Off. Look at that sparkly, shiny sheen. I'm recycling shots just like they recycle games and hardware. And today is all about video games. And we're going to start with the cart-based games. And definitely feel free to pause because there's quite a bit that we're going to be seeing. Like this Metroid 2 for 20 bucks. Never actually played the game, but I definitely would like to do that one day. But just a ton of Nintendo games. I mean, it just goes to show how much Nintendo really dominated in the Japanese market at the time. And a lot of great games at that, like the Zelda Minish Cap for 10 bucks. And then behind it, you'll see Mega Man Zero for 10 bucks. Although I recommend getting the collection on the Switch or the PS4 nowadays. But like these Wario Land games on the Game Boy, Game Boy Color, they're freaking awesome. Complete in box for 10 bucks. And they actually, as you'll see here, let's take a closer look at this Wario Land on the original Game Boy for 5 bucks. And the condition is actually pretty good. You know, it's complete in box for 5 bucks. And you know, Wario, he's one of my favorite characters in the Nintendo universe. But yeah, and then we had a few Mega Drive games here, kind of mixed in with the Famicom games, which the Mega Drive didn't sell nearly as well as the Super Famicom in Japan, but still had a lot of great games, just like the Famicom. But the Famicom I don't have too much experience with, and there's only a few select titles that I definitely would like to play on it. But they just had a ton of Famicom games, and I'm pretty sure mixed in all this madness, there's probably some gems in there. Prices kind of varied between as low as like $3 to as high as like $20, $15. Some of them come complete in box, as you can see there on the screen. But yeah, a pretty good showing for Famicom games, I gotta say. And then down below we have Landstalker here. Now this was succeeded by Dark Savior, and only 5 bucks. Pretty cool cover too. And then just quite a few boxed Super Famicom games, and we'll come back to the Super Famicom boxed games. But before that, I want to show you a few other games as well as the loose carts. And as you can see here, they had a few WonderSwan games, Game Gear, and Nintendo 64. Although the Nintendo 64 had a little bit of a poor showing, they didn't have too many games for it. And then we have Shining Force for 10 bucks. Not a bad price. Usually Mega Drive games in that condition are a little bit more expensive. But here we are with the loose cards. Just tons and tons of loose cards, like this Akumajo Dracula for 15. And the reason why is because the little sticker says that it's sun faded. As you can see, the backside is a little faded, but who cares? For 15, a game of that caliber, that's I would say that's not a bad price. Donkey Kong 2 for 5, Yoshi's Island for 5, 15 for Kirby 3. A lot of great games. A lot of great games for sure. Then we have R-Type for 10, although I'm not really down with this version just because of all the slowdown and then the mishmash of 1 and 2. But this Aladdin, great game. Although 10 bucks, the Kumagaya Hard Off had the loose cart for 6 and complete in box for 12, so it's a little bit higher priced. There's a lot of these Derby Stallion games at every Hard Off. I should buy one day just to see what it's all about and start my gambling habits. But yeah, Final Fight 2 for 10 bucks. That's not a bad price. Parodius for 10, and Garo Fatal Fury Special, which is an awesome series. And then here in the back, tucked away, we have The Legend of the Mystical Ninja, also known as, or originally known as Goemon, which is an awesome game. And then we have like this strategy RPG type of game. A little bit of a controversial cover there. Kind of interesting that they, I think most places would probably show a different image. Kind of interesting that they did that. But Super Mario World for $5. They had a Donkey Kong Country for $3. Mario RPG for $5. Mickey Mania for $10. Now, I was very close to buying this, but I definitely would like to get this one complete in box because it's my favorite Mickey Mouse game, or game starring Mickey Mouse. And then Fighter's History with all Karnov there on the cover for $10. That game had a little bit of controversy. I think Data East was sued because of by Capcom. Too many similarities with Street Fighter 2. But Super Mario Kart for $10 and this Chrono Trigger for $15. Now this Chrono Trigger complete in box, and it's actually fairly clean. Usually the boxes are a little bit dirtier, but then we have that Goemon for 64 at $10, Street Fighter 2 at $5, Super Donkey Kong at $10. But yeah, a lot of great games on the Super Famicom. But here we are. Let's make our way to the disc-based systems, beginning with the Xbox here. We have the Xbox One at the top, which I actually had. I used to own an Xbox One Slim. Pretty cool system, actually. And the 360 is another great system. A lot of great titles on it. And I was actually surprised to see that they had this many games for the 360, and even that little small pile of Xbox original games. But Dead or Alive 4 for $3. I was a fool, and I forgot to grab this. I should have picked that up. Definitely a fan of the Dead or Alive fighting series. And then here we go with the Dreamcast. Virtua Tennis or Power Smash. We got Sonic Adventure, Evolution, which I actually played that RPG way back when the Dreamcast was still being sold in stores. Kind of an interesting little RPG. And then of course they gotta have the copy of Code Veronica. Sega Rally 2, which is an awesome racer for the system. And at $5, not too bad of a price. They had a few Sega Saturn games and a few PC Engine games as well. Nothing too out of the ordinary. In fact, I would say their Sega Saturn collection was just a bunch of common games. We have Street Fighter 02 for $8. Usually you could find that for about $4 or $5, so a little bit overpriced in my opinion. And then this interactive movie, I see this everywhere, but I don't know too much about it. Then Vigilante. I definitely like this game next to KOF 95 because it's kind of similar type of covers. But anyhow, here we go with the PlayStation 2. They had a decent selection of PlayStation 2 games, I gotta say. And then definitely feel free to pause. I film in 4K just, so like if, you want to pause and you can kind of have that clarity so you can kind of read like the spine cards. But the prices for the PS2 games were as low as about $3 up to, $30 depending on the title. But yeah, they had a decent selection here. Which I'm surprised the display case didn't actually have any PS2 games. But anyhow, let's take a closer look at some of these PlayStation 2 games, beginning with Dead or Alive 2 for $3. Prefer the Dreamcast version myself, but Dead or Alive 2 Hardcore is definitely a good one. But I definitely love this cover art to Guilty Gear XX for $3. Not a bad price. Yeah, great series that Guilty Gear. But yeah, then we have King of Monsters here. Don't know too much about this one, but I was definitely digging the cover art. Seems to be like a fighter of some sort. Then Capcom vs SNK 2 for $5. I always like to look at this game just because it kind of gives me a gauge at how they have things priced at the particular hard off. Then Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne. which, Switch is getting it, so is PS4, although I heard that remaster port wasn't actually that great. But then we have Radiata Stories for $3. Not a bad price. This was a great game back when I first played it, and I'm sure it's still a great game now. Killzone for $10, great first-person shooter for the PlayStation series. But anyhow, let's go ahead and move on to the PlayStation 1. The PlayStation 1 selection was kind of so-so. This was one of the better titles, Goemon for $20. Heard a lot of great things about this version. I actually haven't played it myself, but one day I'll get around to it. But yeah, all sorts of interesting titles for the PlayStation. PlayStation is such a great system. Definitely love the cover to that Cowboy Bebop. And even that Clock Tower, which I think Clock Tower started life on the Super Famicom, so it's definitely a long-running series. But yeah, pretty interesting selection here. Definitely would like to try this Tetris Disney game someday. And Rockman X6, kind of a polarizing game. I think, actually, not really polarizing. I think most people don't like it. But anyhow, we'll take a closer look at some of the games here, like this Street Fighter 03 for $5, and this port is actually pretty good, and definitely a lot cheaper than the Sega Saturn version. But anyhow, let's go ahead and take a look at a few games in closer detail, beginning with Cowboy Bebop, as you saw in the beginning there, $10, and it looks to be like a shooter. Definitely would like to try this, and it was actually in fairly good condition with the spine card and all. Then we have Breath of Fire 3. Pretty cool RPG series. I've only played through part 1 and 2 on the Famicom or Super Famicom. Then we have Echo Knight by From Software. I heard a lot of great things about this, and I believe this is still on the PlayStation Network, so I'm definitely going to have to download that and try it out. Then Macross Digital Mission VFX. Pretty cheap price, pretty cool game, especially if you're into Macross. But here we are with the Nintendo GameCube. Now, their GameCube selection was actually fairly good, I gotta admit. They had quite a few titles that I was interested in, like this Rogue Squadron 2 for $15, Biohazard for $10. That's a little bit expensive in my book. And Biohazard 0 for $10, definitely expensive. Biohazard 2 for $35. Now that one is priced about right, I would say. And then Beautiful Joe for $10. But yeah, all sorts of goodies here, just tucked away. But yeah, definitely feel free to pause if you want to take another look at some of these games. But yeah, Star Fox Assault for $25. That's actually a pretty good one. But yeah, $35, and look at the condition of this thing. It's just waiting there, waiting for somebody to pick it up. Wave Race for $3. I heard the 64 version was a lot better. I heard this one left a little bit to be desired, although I've never played it myself. Tales of Symphonia for $5, and then we have a few Mario games. Sunshine and Double Dash at $15 a piece. And Sunshine is definitely an awesome game, as is Double Dash. But I have Sunshine on the Switch as a part of that collection that they recently released. And then we have the Wii, which is it's a system that lately I've been getting more and more into. I mean, I have, I definitely had quite a fairly large collection back in the States, but I actually ended up selling it when I moved over here to Japan. So I'm kind of restarting my Wii collection, but this time around I'm only going to focus on a few select titles. I'm definitely not going to have as large of a collection as I did before, but definitely an excellent system. And here's one game, this Fatal Frame, that actually didn't make it stateside. This was $40, and I heard a lot of good things about this. And then Other M. Now, I picked this up back in the States, and I paid 50 cents at a GameStop, and this game is totally awesome. I definitely loved it. Now, I'm not sure what this is, but this game seems to have a pretty high production value, a Jellicoe game, action RPG. If you know, maybe you can leave a comment down below, but it looks pretty good. And then we have the Mario 25th Anniversary. Now I heard this was so-so. At least the emulation of the games wasn't that great. And then Disaster Day of Crisis for $5. Heard a lot of great things about this series, and definitely one day I'll get around to playing one of the titles. Definitely love this cover to Biohazard Zero, just so funny. But I definitely like that Zero game. Not everybody likes it, but I do. Then the definitive edition to RE4 because of the controls and the little extra goodies. Definitely a good title. Classic title. And then we have Castlevania Judgment. Kind of an interesting little fighter. I'm not really a fan of the character designs, but being a huge fan of Castlevania, that's definitely a game that has my attention. And then Donkey Kong Country Returns for $5. That's a great platforming game for the Nintendo Wii. Definitely a classic, I would say. And then Biohazard Chronicles for $3. Now I highly recommend this game. This game's freaking awesome, and it kind of gives you a different perspective on the events that occurred. And then One Piece Unlimited Adventure for $3. I'm definitely interested in this game, and I have been for the last few years, but I just never got around to playing it. But anyhow, here we are with the Nintendo Wii U. Oh, the Wii U. Just kind of had all sorts of trouble throughout its short-lived life. But I definitely got one at launch, and I don't regret it. I think one of my favorite games on the Wii U is Devil's Third. Still have it too. Pretty interesting game. But they actually didn't have that in stock. But what they did have in stock, pretty decent selection. But I want to say most of the Wii U games, especially all the big titles, have already found their way to the Nintendo Switch, including this Okami and this, I forget the name of this FE. I actually have it, but I forget the name. But it'll occur to me later. But yeah, I don't know. Interesting system. But here we are with the 3DS and the DS. They had quite a few games. Nothing that really stood out to me, save for a few select titles. But definitely feel free to pause. But they had a lot of your standard hits. I think the most interesting game that I saw for me personally for the 3DS was Star Fox 64 3D, which I love that version. That's such a great game, and in my opinion, it's the way to enjoy. And also Metal Gear Solid 3D. Now, anytime I play 3DS, I crank the 3D slider switch all the way. Freaking love playing games in 3D. But yeah, a lot of interesting games here. Some of them are not too bad. The pricing is not too bad, but there could be a little bit of a language barrier. Quite a few Pokemon games, as you saw there. And it's kind of interesting that the DS is region free, but the 3DS is region locked. I think that has to do because of the 3DS eShop. But Super Mario Bros. 2, new Super Mario Bros. 2 for $8, not a bad price. And then we have the classic PlayStation Portable, and this is a system that I've been playing kind of non-stop for the last couple weeks. Just a great system, so many great games, action games, racing games, and that Mega Man Powered Up. That's one that I definitely would like to try one day. Never got around to playing it. But this Sega Rally Revo for $15, I should have picked that up because this is actually one of my favorite racing games on the PlayStation Portable, and I highly recommend it. Such an awesome title. And then we have Valkyria Chronicles 3 for 300 yen, $3. And this actually has an English patch, so that's definitely one that we can enjoy. And then another troubled system, the PlayStation Vita. I also got one at launch. It was definitely worth it in my opinion. Don't regret it. Now, a lot of the games here, they could be like visual novels. I'm not too sure. But they had a decent selection of games. And I think some of my favorite games on the PlayStation Vita are the Ninja Gaiden games, the Sigma Plus games, and especially the vanillaware games that were released on the PlayStation Vita. As you see here, they have Odin Sphere for $25. And this is such a great game that has cross-save compatibility between Vita, PS3, and PS4. I have all the vanillaware games, but unfortunately just digital format. And then we have this Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball, kind of a controversial game. I don't even think it made it stateside, but... And here we are with the PS3 and PS4 games. Definitely also actively collecting for PS3. Definitely want to get everything I'm craving before prices or availability start getting affected. Although I think it's going to be a long time before PS3 games are going to go up in price. But here's one that Killzone 3 for $3. Now I should have picked this up, and the only reason I didn't is because I have already played the game. I beat it way back when it first launched, and I actually played it in 3D, and freaking awesome game. I was one of those suckers that bought into the whole 3D. But then we have Gravity Days, pretty cool game. And then Soul Calibur 4 for $3. I freaking love this game too. I think I found it in the junk bin a few months back for $1, but still, that's not a bad price. Then $15 for the Biohazard HD Chronicles, which, you know, if you don't have a Wii and you have a PS3, this is definitely the way to play. But anyhow, this is pretty much the end of the video. We'll end here with the Switch end cap. So pretty impressive store overall. They had quite a bit, and I'm pretty sure now they have even more. Because they're always adding new inventory. But yeah, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the video. I hope you enjoyed this hard off in Gyoda, and I'll just kind of just wrap things up. All right, y'all, so we're pretty much at the end of today's episode. So if you've stuck around this long, a big thank you. Now, I think for the next episode in the Hunt series, I'm gonna go ahead and go to the Surugaya Specialty Store in Shinjuku, Tokyo. Now, I believe this is one of their flagship stores because it's so massive and they have quite a bit of inventory in stock. And like in today's episode, I'm gonna divide up those episodes into multiple little parts, just because there's just so much stock and, you know, a lot of interesting stuff that I want to show all of you. So keep a lookout for that. But anyhow, thank you for checking out Retro ReWire. My name is JJ. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you all very, very soon. Ciao. They had quite a bit of things that I actually wanted to buy, but you know, just yeah, come on. All right, let me fix this. Now, in part one, this is actually part two of, well, geez.